Hello friends, hello aspirants. Welcome to another session of the Hindu news analysis. Friends, today's newspaper, especially the Hindu paper of Sunday, is very important. I highly recommend you all to not to skip any articles that are given today, especially the articles that are given in the science and tech sections. Okay, some of the articles we will be taking up here, so please don't skip the newspaper that is today. It is very important. Starting with today's newspaper. Okay, the first of the article that is given that we are going to study is about the FATF. Okay, so the article says that ahead of the FATF visit, that is to Pakistan, Pakistan doubles effort to trace Masood Azhar. Okay, so so there has been few issues when it comes to FATF and Pakistan. There are few of the things that you have to know. First of all, we should know what FATF is. So when we look at this, FATF was set up in 1989 and headquartered in Paris. Okay, so this FATF was set up by whom? It was set up by the G7 countries here. Okay, you may get confused about these being set up by the UN or OECD. Okay, so please note that this FATF is being set up by whom? By the G7 countries. Next, FATF has 37 members. Okay, it includes all the P5 countries. Okay, P5 countries. Which are the P5 countries here? US, okay, UK, Russia, France and China. Okay, these are the P5 countries, the permanent members of the Security Council. When it comes to India, India is also the permanent member of FATF. Okay, please note this, India is also a permanent member here. So what is FATF? So FATF, the main objective of FATF, it is a watchdog. Like how we have Enforcement Directorate, Income Tax, okay, in our country, which also acts as a watchdog here. What do you mean by watchdog? Watchdog here means that it prevents certain kind of offences. What offences does FATF prevent here? FATF prevents the offences of money laundering as well as terror financing. Okay, money laundering as well as terror financing. Okay, so FATF, there is two lists again. The two lists are grey list and black list. First of all, what happens when FATF starts its investigation? When for example we are taking about Pakistan right now, okay, if Pakistan is involved in terror funding or money laundering, okay, what the FATF does is FATF puts up censorship. Okay, it puts up censorship against Pakistan. What happens when censorship is put against Pakistan? When this censorship is put up, the Pakistan cannot get any funds from any international organizations. Like for example, Pakistan is trying to take funds from IMF, that is your International Monetary Fund. Pakistan is going through a huge economic crisis. Okay, but Pakistan right now is not able to gather any funds from IMF because Pakistan is being censored by the FATF. Again, FATF has two lists, that is your grey list as well as black list. Presently, Pakistan is in grey list. Okay, grey list, if some country is put up in grey list, it is a warning to them. Okay, it is a warning to them that Pakistan has to improve its fight against terror. Pakistan has to stop the money laundering that is taking place in Pakistan, and if it does not complies by the conditions put up by the FATF, what happens is it will be put in the blacklist. Okay, once a country is put in the blacklist of FATF, it is very hard, it is next to impossible for that country to take funds from any international organizations. Okay, so here under blacklist of FATF right now we have two countries, that is Iran and North Korea. Now coming to what is the issue with Pakistan here. Okay, Pakistan has issues relating to terrorism. Okay, everyone is aware out of it. Okay, Pakistan here sponsors, okay, few of the major terrorist organizations that we have. LET, that is your Lashkar-e-Taiba. Then we have Haqqani network that is working in, okay, Haqqani network that operates from Pakistan. Okay, then we have Taliban's. Okay, then we have Taliban's also. We have something called as Jaish-e-Mohammed. Okay, these are the important terror organizations that are working in Pakistan. The issue here is that Pakistan has not been able to spread the network of terrorism in its country. Another important issue here is that Pakistan does not consider LET and Jaish-e-Mohammed as a terror organization, whereas India has been very critical about it. Some of the incidents that have taken place, that is your 26/11 as well as the Kandahar Kandahar plane hijack. Okay, in such all terrorist acts, these two organizations were highly involved, but Pakistan has not been considering these as the terrorist organizations. So these are the issues that are stopping Pakistan to come out of the grey list for now. Okay, and FATF has been serving a lot of warning. Pakistan has to get out of the FATF grey list by this year, otherwise Pakistan is in danger to be in the blacklist. Okay, so these sessions may be happening in the next few months, so please keep a tab on it. Whenever such articles come up, please understand first of all what FATF is, what is the work of FATF, what happens when FATF puts a censorship on some countries, what are the two lists of FATF. Okay, these are the things you have to note here. Next, moving on to the next article. The article talks about 20 red pandas to make a home in the forest. Okay, red pandas are an important species when it comes to the northeast region. Okay, so here we have I have put up some of the important facts related to your red panda. Okay, so here red panda, as you look here, it is a small reddish brown mammal. Okay, it is a state animal of Sikkim. Very important fact, may be asked in your exam. Okay, also under IUCN list. See, whenever you are reading about some species, whenever some species come in news, especially in the newspaper, what you have to concentrate is about the IUCN list. Okay, what is the status of that species under IUCN list? Okay, so when we look at here, the status of red panda is what? It is endangered. Okay, it is endangered. Also, India has something called as Wildlife Protection Act. Okay, there are various schedules under Wildlife Protection Act. There are various schedules. We will be doing it sometime later in some other sessions about Wildlife Protection Act. Here, this red panda is placed under Schedule 1. Okay, it is placed under Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act. Moving on, see, one of the important fact here is that red panda, okay, red panda after China, the highest population is in India. Okay, the highest population is in India. In this article, there is one important point that is not being mentioned here, that is about these Darjeeling Zoo. Okay, this Padmaja Naidu Himalaya Zoological Park in Darjeeling. Okay, what the important fact about this zoo is that it is India's high altitude zoo. Okay, it is India's highest altitude zoo. So these are the points that you have to read about this article. Please don't skip this article, very important article. So just read about it. Then moving on, this comes in your science and tech section. Okay, Sunday especially we have a lot of science and tech articles that are given up. And lately UPSC has been asking a lot about the science and tech basics, okay, basics as well as the current affairs. So please don't skip this, don't skip the article Sunday edition, because science and tech is very important. Along with it, you can also follow Science Monitor. Okay, it is half an hour program that comes up in previously Rajya Sabha TV, now it is a Parliament TV. Okay, so you can follow this Science Monitor as well. Okay, please don't skip this, it is very important when it comes to your science and tech syllabus. So coming to this article, it talks something about here food's carbon print. Okay, what do you mean by food's carbon print? See, when we grow a crop, we just not grow food there is something else associated with that. Well, that is your growing. Okay, these are various process of cultivating a crop. Okay, that is growing, rearing, farming, processing, transporting, storing, cooking. Okay, these all are involved when you grow a crop. These are all the processes. Okay, so here when all these processes are taking place, there is greenhouse gas emission. Okay, consider like transportation. Okay, when you transport the food grains, there is obviously the use of fossil fuels and there is obviously greenhouse gas emission. Fine. So here the article says that in 2017, okay, the domestic and the international movement of food added emission equivalent to 3 gigatons of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Very important fact. You can use this fact in your essay. You can use, sometimes these facts can be mentioned as a question in prelims as well. Okay, so you sometimes the prelims question may be about what is the food carbon footprint here. Fine. So which meal or which food emits the highest food carbon print here? If the question comes up, the question may be that which meal or which food has the highest food's carbon footprint. The answer is beef. Okay, beef. Beef has the highest food's carbon footprint here. Fine. So you can look at it because in the beef industry there involves rearing, okay, cultivating, okay, such things involve in the farming of a beef. So beef emits the highest food carbon footprint here. Okay. Next, moving on here, one important article, okay, that is about altering green laws. Recently there has been talks, okay, recently the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, okay, he has issued a notification relating to the changes that are going to be made to the Environment Protection Act of 1986. Okay. First of all, you have to note that in India there are two important environmental protection acts that are there. First is your Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, as well as Environment Protection Act that we are going to study, 1986. Okay. So Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, it mainly focuses on the species, that is your flora, fauna, whatever the species that are found in India, it is mainly focusing on that. Whereas the Environmental Protection Act 1986, it mainly deals with pollution. It mainly deals with your environment impact assessment. It deals with how to stop emission. Okay, these are the things that is focused in your Environment Protection Act of 1986. Now, what is Environment Protection 1986? See, the Environment Protection 1986, the objective here is to providing the protection and improvement of the environment. As I said here, it is mainly concentrating on the ecological aspects, that is your pollution aspects. Okay, and it empowers the central government. Okay, it empowers the central government to establish authorities charged with the mandate of preventing environmental pollution in all its form and to tackle specific environmental problems like specific environment problems like air pollution, water pollution and other forms of pollution, okay, that are peculiar to different parts of the country. Please note here in the act, what is mentioned in the act, it is mentioned that the power is under the act, the power is given to the central government and to establish authorities. One of the authorities that is being established, I'll tell you in the next slide. Then when it comes to environmental protection, what are the constitutional provisions? First of all, the constitutional provision of Article 48A, that is your DPSP. Okay, under DPSP we have one article that says that the constitution specifies that the state shall endeavor to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country. Secondly, Article 51A, fundamental right, okay, further provides that every citizen shall protect the environment. So in the constitutional provisions, when you look at it, when you study in detail, one thing you will note that environmental protection is not a fundamental right. Okay, it is not a fundamental right, it is just a DPSP as well as it is a fundamental duty. Okay, please keep this in mind, very important for your prelims. Then these are some of the changes that have been proposed for the amendment. See, when I act, until and unless the final amendment is being released by the government, okay, when until and unless it is published in the Gazette of India, please don't focus on the proposed amendments. Please look at the actual amendments that will come up once the Parliament has approved these amendments. Okay, so here the article discusses, okay, about these amendments that are going to be taking place. First of all, the amendment, okay, the amendment is to the 4 key legislations, that is your Environment Protection Act of 1986. Secondly, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act of 1974. Thirdly, this is prevention again, sorry, okay, Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act of 1981, and then Public Liability Insurance Act of 1991. Okay, so the amendments that are going to be taking place, they are going to take place in these 4 acts here. One important thing, these two are very important. These 2 acts are very important because through these 2 acts only one important authority is being established, that is your CPCB. That is Central Pollution Control Board. Okay, very important authority in India to tackle environmental issues. Okay, the CPCB is being established under two main acts, that is your Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act of 1974 as well as Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act of 1981. So, what does the article says here? Article says here that the proposed amendments, okay, the proposed amendments is going to make the punishments, okay, it is going to make the punishment less stringent. Okay, the punishments are going to be less stringent. Previously, under this Environmental Protection Act, okay, that is of 1986, it gave power to the CPCB, that is Central Pollution Control Board, to fine, okay, to fine as well as shut down those industries which were polluting the industries. But now, under the proposed amendments, what is going to happen is there is going to be an adjudicating officer. Okay, the CPCB is not going to have those powers. There is going to be an adjudicating officer which is going to look into the matters and then decide what fines have to be put. One more important thing that has been mentioned in the article is that under previous act, that is your 1986 Environmental Protection Act, the fines were heavy as well as there was a clause of imprisonment. But the proposed amendment says that the fines will not be that heavy as well as there is no provision of imprisonment in case of environmental violations, in case of pollutions by the industries. Then when we look at it, okay, when we look at the pros and cons of amendments, the writer here says that the pro is that the backlog on cases will be less. The article says that some of the cases are been running from 33 plus years. Okay, and there has been a huge backlog of cases when it comes to environmental violations. Okay, but here the writer says that once these amendments are being included, once these amendments are being issued, what will happen is these environmental violations that are happening, okay, they will be treated as a civil case rather than a criminal case. Okay, it will be treated as a civil case rather than a criminal case. What will happen is the procedure involving, okay, in the civil case is very short, whereas the procedure involved in the criminal case is very long and tedious. That is why we have a long as well as a huge number of backlog of cases related to environmental violations. Another writer in this article says about the cons. He talks about the cons. The main con that he talks about is about the adjudicating officer. Why? Because previously the fines and the penalties were levied by the CPCB. Okay. Now, when the adjudicating officer is going to look into the matter, there may be case of corruption. There may be case where adjudicating officer may be biased. Okay, so these are the issues that have been discussed in the article today. Please look into the article. The article is written in very much detail and the article is very much clear. Okay, about what has to be steps have to be taken place and about the pros and cons of these amendments. Okay. So this is all about today. This is all we had to discuss about the today's article. Please follow us on these social media handles. You can follow us on YouTube. You can follow us on Telegram, Instagram as well as Facebook. Thank you. See you in the next session.